Hi, I'm making this video for the topic of afterlife, reincarnation, near-death experiences, and possibilities, okay, of what happens when we die. First and foremost, do not be scared of dying because everything that you experience on this earth is an illusion. Everything's an illusion. I said it, it's true, it's an illusion. The walls you touch, the TV that you watch, everything that you see is a projection, an illusion. And I'm not just talking about the computer universe here. I'm talking about real hard physics, okay? Because an atom is 99.7% empty space. Now think about that for a second, because you're made of atoms. And everything else around you is made of atoms. But it's really 99.7% empty space. And a majority of our universe is dark matter. Dark energy. It's a very small amount that is matter, okay? Because there's antimatter and there's just a little bit more matter when the universe was created to overthrow the antimatter for us to exist. So everything you see in the visible universe is a very tiny, small percentage of what is really there. And what is really there you can't see, okay? So my first topic, or not even topic, but my first suggestion to you is do not be afraid of dying, death. Don't be afraid of anything. Live your life to the fullest. Do everything you've ever wanted to do that you were always scared of. Jump out of a plane, bungee jump if that's what you're into. Just do all the things you ever wanted to do, okay? Look at it this way. And I'm not making this video about the computer universe theory. I'm just saying, think of this life as a virtual reality experience. Do everything that you wanted to do. I see people every day holding themselves back from things they should be doing, okay? Everything. People are uptight, they're assholes, they're getting pissed off at dumb shit. Live your life, be happy, okay? Don't take life too seriously, no one gets out alive. I'm sure you've heard that a couple times before. I'm here to tell you why, okay? There are many possibilities for what could happen when you die, okay? There could be other levels of existence, dimensions, levels of existence, okay? And we transcend these levels. We move up or down in these levels depending on how we lived our life. It's based on karma, and it has to do with reincarnation. So if you're reincarnated into some object, not even an object, but you know what I mean, like an animal or a bug or a human being, okay? That's your karma given back to you. Well, let me ask you this for a second, okay? There's all these souls, because if you're going to believe that we are supernatural beings, there are souls, okay? And a soul survives the body. So for reincarnation to be real, wouldn't maybe there have been a certain amount of souls to begin with? 10,000, 100,000, a million, 10 billion, who knows how many? But if you look back in history through all of time, okay, and watch the human population grow, we're a dot in the cosmic calendar, the time that the universe has been around. We've been around for a very short period of time. But there's now 8 billion people on the earth. So if we are being reincarnated, that means that some of the souls are being recycled. So how many souls was there to begin with? If there's 8 billion different people right now, right, at one given time, then how could reincarnation be true? Think about it this way. There's 8 billion people right now. That means there's 8 billion different souls. Somebody dies, is born immediately, 100 years later, let's say immediately. That soul is recycled, right? But there still has to be 8 billion souls because there's 8 billion different people living at one time. So what's going on with these souls? Is it being recycled? Like, if somebody was to pass on and then be born again, are there really 5 billion souls and then you got to count in for the reincarnation? Or are there 20 billion souls but they're not all living right now? So you got to take that into consideration when you think about reincarnation. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in it. I do believe in it, okay? I think it is real. But I just think that we can't understand it. We try to put everything in human terms. The only thing we can understand is our language. Okay, our language literally limits us from being able to understand things on a deeper metaphysical level. So when you use words, when you expand your vocabulary, you're actually enlightening yourself. So do that. Learn a new language. It gets harder as you get older. So even if you're 40, learn it now before you turn 50 because it might be something you're looking into in the future. And look up these languages that have a lot of meaning because a lot of the American language derives itself from Latin. Okay? A lot of it is words that we took from the Latin language and incorporated in our own language. Anyhow, that's reincarnation. Okay? Now let's get into heaven. When you die, do you believe that you go to heaven and you wait outside the gates and God lets you in and that's it? That's the purpose. You live one life. Okay? But what about the infant that died who was stillborn? Or the 2-year-old kid that died in a car accident? Or the 80-year-old guy that died? You got to take these things into account. If God has a bigger plan and a greater purpose, that could impact, like every one little thing you do. Maybe you lived your entire 45-year life to die, God forbid, to impact somebody else's life who's 13. And you lived your whole life just to do that because that person that's 13 is going to do something that's going to impact somebody else's life and so on and so forth until one person does something spectacular. Because what we all search for is meaning. We want meaning. We don't, when you think about like, is life a dream and is there no meaning to it? Is it just fun? People long for meaning. I believe we eventually go to heaven, but I think we progress. Enlightenment. I think the Buddhists got some of the truth there because, they're not afraid of death. They aren't. They look forward to death. It's kind of like death to the Buddhist it's kind of like a celebration. They train themselves to accept death and embrace it. And there's something beautiful in that. I mean, I'm not saying kill yourself or want to die, but start embracing things that make you scared and think about them. We need more thinkers. We have too many people that watch TV and all these little subliminal messages they're posting across the screen. Kill, murder, rape, conform, submit, and many other things. Inflation is wrong. They're giving us signs, okay? And every day you got to look for these signs. They're not always easy to see, but they're out there, okay? It's a treasure map. And it's up to each person to find their own treasure. We all have a treasure. We just have to find it, okay? If you live your whole life not asking yourself and running away from these things that scare you, what kind of life have you really lived? So I used to be scared to death, okay? And I just started reading and trying to get enlightenment, okay? And I'm not scared anymore. And I don't know what happens when you die. A lot of people see the same thing, a tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel. And they try to explain that scientifically, and then they can't, and then they can, and they can't. Who knows, okay? But for this video's purpose is to get you to stop being afraid of anything at all. Because in the end, if you pass away, because that's the worst thing that can happen to you is you cease to exist. So ultimately, everything that we fear comes from that, okay? Because I'm not going to be scared to go on a roller coaster if I wasn't afraid of dying. Okay, something happening and I die. If I knew for 100% sure that I couldn't die, maybe I'd still be like nervous or frantic, but I wouldn't be scared. I wouldn't be scared of a lot of things if I wasn't scared of death. So what I ask for you who are watching to do is to embrace the things that you fear the most. In quantum mechanics, there's it's a multiple worlds theory, okay? And the basis of it is this. Every time you make a decision, both those decisions, they have an outcome. Now, the decision that you make, you branch off towards that outcome. So if you decide to do something instead of deciding not to do it, like I'm going to buy this car, there are two realities, maybe more. And in one reality, you bought the car, you take it home, you clean it, you show your family. In another reality, you don't buy the car, you keep driving your old car that you have. But these realities, they both exist, okay? Because in order for free will to be, these realities have to both exist. If it wasn't possible that both these realities existed, there would be no such thing as free will because you wouldn't have will over what you've done. There's only one reality, right? You make one decision, and that's the only decision you ever could have made. There's no way to tell if you were forced to make that decision or influenced by outside forces. So, there are decisions that we make every day, and there's 8 billion of us making these decisions. And every time we make a decision, we collapse the wave function, the probabilities on a quantum level of real things that we look at that we think are real, which aren't. And we go down a timeline, okay? There are other timelines, there are other us's, there are other me's and you's and Donald Trump's. But at the end of the day, you're living your quotations reality. Because reality's not fucking real. Okay? And once you discover that and figure that out, you're going to be a lot better off. Enjoy your life. Be positive. Help others. Help yourself. And just live every day as if it's your first and your last. Also, watching these afterlife investigations tonight, there are some interesting points they bring up. And they bring aliens into it as well. Okay? Basically, an alien civilization put us on Earth, and they control us, and, I don't know. I believe in aliens. I believe there's many civilizations watching over us. But I also believe in something higher than that, okay? The angels in the Bible were aliens. That's a theory. Anyways, to stay on the subject here, something happens when you die. We're not just formless beings. We're not just pieces of matter that come into existence and start talking. Do you see a rock get up, and just start moving around and talking? No. And the reason you don't see that is because that is inanimate, okay? It cannot be animated. So there is a purpose for us. We are here. In a way, we're real, but we're really not. Embrace yourself. Love yourself. Drink coffee. Smoke cigarettes if that's what you're into. Drink alcohol in moderation. But most importantly, live your life. And try to go above religion. Because, let me just put it this way, okay? I'm not going to go as far as to offend some of you and say that religion is crowd control, okay? Although, hint, hint, look into this. But what I'm going to say is that there's a lot more truth to what they're putting out there. Because if you have an absolute truth, you're not going to just put the whole truth out there for everybody to see because it becomes distorted. It's not, it's truth, but it's up to everybody's perception. So what do? You water it down, distribute it to the masses. You try to bend this truth in your own way, like the Vatican does, and you try to get people to conform. Stop conforming. Please. It makes me sad to see people out there every day. I have to conform a little bit too. I go to work, I have to pay bills, I have to do things that normal people do. But you don't have to conform 100% of the time, okay? Use this right here because they can't take that away from you. Even with these mind control experiments that are supposedly going on, get an aluminum tinfoil hat if that's what you feel you have to do. Just start using it. Because without this, there really is no purpose to anything.